Okay, huge news day in Canada. We will get rolling here. Should be interesting. I'm just going to kind of ease into the stream. But we'll start with this video titled, Canada Will Not Bow to U.S. Pressure. Carney warns U.S. could threaten ... There's something else, I think, but I'll just play some of this video here.
So we look forward to hearing more details and to your speech. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Canada's 24th Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Mark Carney.
Thank you, Graham. Merci beaucoup. Je tiens tout d'abord à remercier le président Xi et le Premier ministre Li de m'avoir invité en Chine et de l'accueil chaleureux que nous ont réservé au cours des 2 derniers jours. Vice Premier He. Sorry.
Emraz, what's up? What is up?
Bilateral relations have been challenging. This council, for your leadership, relations is very auspicious. Personally, I'm honored and grateful that you could join us this evening. Your time is so precious, and that you're dedicating it.
I mean, we'll see how long I stream today, but there is so much to cover today in Canada. I mean, I could theoretically stream for like probably 6 hours, 7 hours. I probably won't. I didn't sleep that good last night, so I probably won't do that. But I mean, there's so much to cover today.
To Canada-China relations is very auspicious. I want to recognize Olivier Desmarais, Graham, the team at the Canada-China Business Council.
Elevate talking about Ford. Are you saying Elevate woke up or Ford finally woke up?
For your leadership, and
I think Doug Ford is the word. I actually have a more favorable opinion of Carney than Ford, because I think Carney at least kind of is what he claims to be. Like, I would say his brand is sort of a centrist globalist. Ford is a fake conservative. Yeah, because Ford was pretty critical, right, of Carney and this deal, I believe. But it sounded like in Ford's statement that it sounded to me like he was implying Ontario wants more government handouts. Although I'll read the statement again, maybe. But if that's his position, I think it's clown world. I just think Ford is a very weak person. I don't know how he keeps winning. Ford is mad, yeah. Man, Ford would have to be, I still don't like Ford. Ford would have to do a lot to change my opinion of him. He was so weak on COVID. I truly don't understand how that guy keeps winning.
Bringing together, look at this room, this remarkable room together. And I know that the past few years in our bilateral relations have been challenging.
Another thing that's interesting, Emraz, have you heard much from Poilievre today? Like, I think if you're Poilievre, you got to get out there, and if you're the leader of the opposition, you got to get out there and basically criticize what Carney is doing. For the most part, I think, as the opposition leader, or maybe you could even say, "Hey, I actually agree with this," but I haven't heard much of Poilievre today.
At many points, uncertain, and it's in the face of that uncertainty that the leaders in this room and the organizations that you represent, you have stayed resilient and focused, and you've helped bring us to this moment.
I'll check that out, Emraz. Poilievre's comment. I guess I'll do this quick just for if anyone's in the stream here. He has a video out. Okay, probably I'll check that out. I'll just do like a little recap of Canada-China deal. We'll go Al Jazeera. This probably will be sort of you would think, an impartial take. Maybe they're influenced by China. I don't know. But we'll see what Al Jazeera says.
A grand welcome for the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in Beijing, the first visit by a Canadian leader in almost a decade. Meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Carney hailed a new era in the relationship after years of diplomatic tension.
Together, we can build on the best of what this relationship has been in the past to create a new one, adapted to new global realities that will deliver stability, security, and prosperity to our peoples on both sides of the Pacific.
Look, this is one example, I think, where, yes, it's the same political party. Can you imagine Justin Trudeau in this same setting as the prime minister? I just can't see it. So it's the same political party, but at least in this case, I think this is quite a bit different of a position. I mean, a lot of people don't like this. I think most conservatives are very critical of what happened in China here. My honest take is, and I'll kind of go, as we keep streaming, I'll kind of keep giving my take, of course, but I need some time to kind of think about this one. Normally, not maybe normally, but a lot of times in politics, I'll have a take right away. I'm going to have to think about this one because I need to know exactly what was the agreement. Like I know there were deals made, but how significant are they? I saw one thing about Canada's going to work with like policing or something. I don't like that with the CCP. So kind of as I keep going through here, I'll give my take, because if it's just a deal on like, for example, lowering tariffs for EVs and then China lowering tariffs on canola, that's one thing, right? That's just one deal kind of affecting two industries. But if it's just this deep sort of intertwined like network of deals, that's a whole different story.
To our peoples on both sides of the Pacific.
Following the meeting,
He didn't go through the right channels. Is that meaning like consulting the House of Commons in Canada or something? Is that what that means? BYD, yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. I haven't driven one of these cars, but I've been in these cars like as a passenger. They're not bad. I don't know how they're going to handle bumpy Canadian roads, though. I do think their suspension was the one thing I remember. Maybe it wasn't the best, although maybe it was just the one car I was in.
Carney announced Canada would lower a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles to 6.1%, with the import volume capped at 49,000 cars. In return, China will lower levies on Canadian 9,000.
Look at that ship. That is a cool looking ship. I wonder how many cars could fit on that thing.
Cars. In return, China will lower levies on Canadian rapeseed from more than 80% to about 15% by March 1, as well as suspend duties on imports of other farm products, including lobsters and crabs. Carney also met Premier Li Qiang and supervised the signing of several agreements on trade, construction, tourism and security. Both countries issued a so-called cooperation roadmap outlining opportunities to grow economic ties. Beijing is interested in buying more Canadian oil and gas. Foreign Minister Wang Yi says China wants to eliminate...
Yeah, Emraz, I saw you commented. I found the clip of Lisa Raitt with David Cochran. I got that from the account, I think Windy Talks or something. On YouTube, he posted it, but then I reacted to it. That moment was so funny. Lisa Raitt with David. The impossible thing would be David saying a nice thing about conservatives.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi says China wants to eliminate interference in the relationship, a veiled reference to the US.
As the world is undergoing unprecedented, profound, and...
Has Trump, Emraz, I don't know if you're still here, has Trump commented on this at all? I'd like to hear Trump. I don't even know if Trump publicly will. There's no way he's not aware of this, because these are two, like especially China is the major competitor of America, and then Canada is still a relatively powerful country. There's no way he's not aware of what has happened here.
Complex changes. The impact of China-Canada relations extends beyond the bilateral scope, which is significant for the region and even the world.
Ottawa is moving closer to Beijing as Canada's relationship with the US becomes more turbulent. Trump has raised tariffs on Canadian goods and news that it could become America's 51st state. Carney has vowed to diversify trade. Stabilizing ties with China is a key part of his plan. But
this is probably the first time that since Carney's election that he's really kind of acted on diversifying trade. I mean, maybe there was some other stuff a couple months ago with some Southeast Asian countries, but this would probably be like a major thing Carney could point to, I guess, if he's trying to frame it as, oh, we're diversifying our trade.
Plan, but progress has been slow. In 2018, Canada detained Chinese Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou following US extradition orders.
Oh,
Beijing
yeah.
retaliated.
I forgot about that. I actually did totally kind of forget about that. Obviously, at the time I knew about it, but that's right. When was that?
Progress has been slow. In 2018, Canada detained Chinese Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou following US extradition orders. Beijing retaliated by arresting 2 Canadians in a diplomatic standoff, which lasted 2.5 years. Now, trust is just starting to be rebuilt.
That's actually incredible. Look, I probably, man. So we did this. I guess America wanted us to arrest this person. I don't know. I might have a little bit of a different take on some of this stuff than you, Mraz. Like, I'm trying to look at this from Canada's point of view. What is Canada supposed to do? If we've been trying to work with America basically for the last 100 years, probably even longer, and things aren't going great with America. And like, again, I make no secret about it. I literally like Trump, like, in no irony at all. I think Trump's the best politician in the world, but I'm looking at that from a perspective of just him as a politician acting in the interest of his own country. Like, I don't think that means that, like, Trump is not going to care as a general rule about Canada. So I think, well, I mean, I'll show it later. Like, I literally have a pro-Trump YouTube channel, so I obviously like Trump, but I wonder what Canada, though, is supposed to do if Canada now feels like the U.S. is not a reliable trading partner. They don't know what they're going to get out of them. So you almost have to turn somewhere. Canada's not that powerful of a country. We can just be isolationist. Carney intentionally made the deals fall. He didn't. What do you mean by that? Intentionally made the... Oh, with USA. Maybe. You might... Yeah. Like, maybe in some way, Carney never wanted to work with America. Man. This is actually a very interesting kind of moment in Canadian history, I think. Because... yeah, what is about to happen? Man, it's actually quite...
Now, trust is just starting to be rebuilt. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm going to go to PM, a lot of explaining to do. I'll play this video. There's a video I want to watch. I got actually quite a few things I want to cover here, but we'll take a look at this here. PM has a lot of explaining to do on China trade deal, conservative labor.
Something. Get you more reaction. We have with us from
conservative labor critic says.
Orangeville, Ontario, conservative labor critic Kyle Seaback, conservative labor critic. Kyle, thank you for joining us this morning. This is, of course, a significant development when it comes to relations between Canada and China. The Prime Minister said it's a reset of thoughts. How are you processing what we have heard so far about this new agreement, Kyle?
Well, it's difficult to process, first of all, because the Prime Minister said that, China was Canada's largest security threat during the last campaign. And now he's praising President Xi and talking about a new strategic partnership. So I think the Prime Minister has a lot of explaining to do to Canadians as to how these two things can coexist at the same time. I would say this, though. If you're a canola farmer, you're probably cautiously optimistic that something's going to come from this because we don't know the full details. It looks like Canada lowers the tariff on EVs first, and then at some point in the future, the tariffs on canola will be lifted. But if you're a Canadian auto worker, this is devastating news because they know that this is going to undercut North American produced vehicles.
You know, speaking of...
That's interesting. I'm very skeptical that those BYD cars will actually end up on the market or on the road in Canada in a significant way. I don't know why. We'll see what happens, but are those actually made for Canadian winters? BYD electric car winter.
Good evening and welcome to Jeff Drives Cars, a slightly later than normal video where I'm going to take you through, well, firstly I'm going to take you across the causeway at Holy Island in Northumberland, but we're going to go through some screenshots from my camera roll from the battery use. I'm getting 39.1 miles for my 80.
Recuperation, AC in a standard mode, no eco mode. We are using all.
So this woman likes it. Let's see, but this is not in the winter.
Hello. You joined me on one of my favourite days, recording one of my favourite videos. I love doing a long-term review because I have been living with this.
Who Emraz do you think has had the best take on the news with the China-Canada deal? Who do you think's been the best?
BYD Seal all-wheel drive.
I'm streaming a little bit later today. I'd like to stream actually earlier usually, but whatever.
Excellence for about 5.
I'm also, I think I'm at 220 subscribers or something. I got to get to 1,000. That's the goal because then you can monetize your stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a fun little thing though because I did it before on my other channels. It's actually kind of fun just trying to get to 1,000.
5 months now. I've done around 6,500 miles. So I'm going to tell you everything I know about this car. If you are considering one of these, this is the video to watch.
Would you buy one of these? Would anyone buy one of these things?
Right, first things first, it looks great. I mean, the thing is, we've reviewed this car a few times on Electrifying, but I didn't actually get to live with one. You'd borrow one for like a week or so. But actually having this for the last 5 months, this thing is genuinely turning heads. Everyone is interested in this thing because it looks really stylish. It's 4.9 meters long.
They look kind of cool in amongst other cars. They look a little different. They honestly, to me, look like a Tesla. When you see one in real life, to me, it looks very similar to just how a Tesla looks. Maybe a little bit less appealing. Like it looks like maybe 10% cheaper than a Tesla.
Really low nose, so it makes it more aerodynamic.
It's not bad.
I quite like the black, but I do need to point out it gets dirty very easily. So maybe coat it with something that might make it. It can do that. And then you'll put it back again. And you'll never do it again. You'll just leave it like that, because that's what I did. Okay, so I got this car about 5 months ago, and it was all very different software. People how fast it can go, because the rest of the time in normal mode it's powerful enough. You don't need it to be any faster than that. But if you do put it in sport mode, which I can do right now, hang on a minute, sport mode.
Yeah, we'll take a look. We'll go to Polyev. I'll take a look at Polyev's Twitter account, and I'll also go. Oh, I also did you see the people getting upset about the Florida Panthers meeting with Trump at the White House? People are so stupid. Like, he's not supposed to do that. I don't see Polyev here. Where is this guy? What the heck? I don't think the X search thing works very good. You gotta go to Google to search people. Part of the problem is, though, I actually have a lot of accounts muted on X. And that's not even because I want to see them muted. It's because the X algorithm promotes the big accounts like crazy. So I try to kind of get around that by muting some of the larger accounts so I don't just see them constantly. Mark Carney has still not begun consulting FN on building a pipeline and said he met with anti-pipeline group that doesn't speak for the communities. Totally. Yeah, Poilievre right now, I think his best stuff is pipeline. He is hitting every right note, in my opinion, on the pipeline. And even calling out Carney correctly. So on the pipeline stuff, I think Poilievre gets an A+. Which Mark Carney was right? A, pre-election Carney, who said the biggest security threat to Canada is China, or post-election Carney, who signs a strategic partnership with Beijing for a quote-unquote new world order? That's a good question. Carney must explain how he has gone from saying China was Canada's biggest security threat before the election to announcing a strategic partnership with Beijing. Very good point. This just 28-second video here.
I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
Oh my gosh.
We're heartened by the leadership of President Xi Jinping and the speed with which our relationship has progressed in recent months. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Jeez. That is quite incredible. And wasn't there something about China, Canada police? I saw something about this, very concerning. Yeah, right. I guess right here. Why does China's ambassador suddenly want police cooperation?
Power of global
with Canada?
partnership.
Deepening international law enforcement cooperation. This is probably the most concerning thing I've seen coming out of the day. Carney inks bad deal with China and laughs off human rights.
We're going to move to the next question right after it.
He just laughed in a reporter's face when he asked to follow up on human rights violations. Carney has finally made his first deal. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got a press conference. Mark Carney asking some questions, gets a little spicy. Most of it addressing his trade deal he just made with China. This trade deal, spoiler alert, it's not that good. I just want to point out one quick thing. There's translation when Mark Carney or Xi Jinping's talking, and I cut out the spaces in between the translation to save you guys time, because otherwise it would sound like that. It's really obnoxious. That's why there's so many cuts. Where the pauses are important, I leave them in. Let's jump into this. Here it is, Mark Carney meeting Xi Jinping.
I haven't seen this moment yet, actually, where they officially met.
Look how happy he is. He's in his happy place. There it is. Something I want to point out too. This is the first time Xi Jinping has met Mark Carney on this trip. Obviously, Carney's met him before multiple times, but Xi Jinping didn't even come out to greet Mark Carney at the airport. If Trump was there, as soon as Trump stepped off Air Force One, Xi Jinping would be right there on the tarmac. But Mark Carney, no. Xi Jinping sends a few of his goons out there, and Carney meets him on the third day of the trip.
Let's begin the meeting. Prime Minister Carney, welcome to China. And I welcome this great ministerial delegation. I am very pleased to meet you again.
He said it himself, meet him again.
Last October we met in Gyeongju, the Republic of Korea. It was a very good meeting. That meeting, I believe, marked a turnaround in the China-Canada relations and placed it on an upward trajectory. I am ready to continue working with you with a sense of responsibility for the history, for the people, and for the world.
Thank you, President Xi, for your hospitality, for the warm welcome that's been...
Look at them. They're all so nervous. Like the stress on their faces here. Don't say the wrong word or we're going to end up in the Uyghur re-education camps. What is this bonehead doing here?
And for the opportunity that our partnership brings to both our peoples, and I would suggest as well, to the world.
We're not going to listen to his full speech. It's full of a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but listen to this, taking a jab at Donald Trump, contradicting the very reason he got elected.
And this is a relationship that has been distant and uncertain for nearly a decade.
So he's talking about China here, and he's remending this.
That has held back investment, it's stalled business growth, and cost Canadian workers good opportunities. It has had the consequence of leaving...
Yeah, the New World Order thing, CBC, you say buried it. Even when I go to my own YouTube channel, like, just because I mentioned the phrase New World Order, even though I really didn't comment on it, I just brought up the fact that Carney said that. Like, you'll see if I go to my YouTube channel here and go to the video that I did, there's a warning. Look at that. It goes to links to Wikipedia. The New World Order is a term often used in conspiracy theories which hypothesize a secretly emerging totalitarian world government.
For the New World Order.
It didn't this time, but before there was another warning that showed up here, but maybe this just replaced it. Maybe that's just on my TV. I thought that was kind of funny.
Us even more dependent on our largest trading partner. That's why immediately after the election, Canada's new government began to recalibrate our relationship with China.
Wait a second, I thought you were elected to get a deal with Donald Trump, but instead immediately after being elected, he's recalibrating with China? He's giving up his hand here. He wanted to bring us closer to China, to bring their surveillance into our country from day one. He never wanted to get a deal with Donald Trump, and he isn't going to get one with Donald Trump.
President Xi and I are announcing that Canada and China are forging a new strategic partnership. It will focus on 5 key areas where both our nations stand to make substantial and sustained gains. The first is I'm
going to pull up a note here just for fun. I'm going to pull up my notes. Just by Geez, I look like I'm just computer illiterate right now. I don't think I'm totally computer illiterate. I'm not brutal, but what the hell? Yeah, we'll just use whatever. This is not perfect. Just use this.
clean energy and climate competitiveness.
Oh my God.
This is the
5 key areas where both our nations stand to make substantial and sustained gains. The first is in clean energy and climate competitiveness.
Just notice, this is the first thing he mentions, clean energy and climate competitiveness. That's the #1 thing that comes out of his mouth. We can see where this is going.
Areas where Canada and China have immense strengths and complementary strengths. Second, we're expanding trade, particularly in agriculture and food, where Canada is a reliable partner. Fourth, we're deepening engagement in public safety and security to protect our peoples. And food, where Canada is a reliable partner. Fourth, we're deepening engagement in public safety and security. I are announcing that Canada and China are partners. Sustained
competitiveness. That's the #1 thing that comes out of his mouth. We can see where this is going.
Areas where Canada and China have immense strengths and complementary strengths. Second, we're expanding trade, particularly in agriculture and food, where Canada is a reliable partner. Fourth, we're
I guess
deepening engagement.
there's no fourth. There's no third. Maybe Moose clipped that out, but he mentioned trade as well. Well,
in public safety and security to protect our peoples. And
okay, that part is very concerning.
Complementary strengths. Second, we're expanding trade, particularly in agriculture and food, where Canada is a reliable partner. Fourth, we're deepening engagement in public safety and security to protect our peoples.
What the fuck does that mean? Deepening security to protect our peoples. Why do we need to deal with China? What the hell does that have to do with China?
Fourth, we're deepening engagement in public safety and security to protect our peoples. And
holy crap, man. What does that even mean? That part is very concerning. What does he mean by that? Like, that just sounds like we want to spy on you.
And finally, people-to-people ties and culture are being enhanced to enrich our lives.
What you'll notice from this and what he announced doesn't line up. So the first thing he said is the C word competitiveness, net zero. They've come out and already said it. Tim Hodgson said it. They all said it. They're working together with China on net zero. But out of this agreement, you don't see much about net zero. He basically just alludes that China's going to invest more in our energy sector. Now let's look at what the deal really is. It's not very good for Canada. We've got China will be able to sell 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles in the Canadian market with a most favored nation tariff rate of 6.1%, which represents 3% of our total autos sold every year. And this will potentially raise to 70,000 Chinese EVs per year over 5 years. On top of that, it says there will be new Chinese joint venture investment in Canada with trusted partners to protect and create new auto manufacturing careers for Canadian workers and ensure robust build out of Canada's EV supply chain. With this agreement, is it also anticipated that in 5 years, more than 50% of these vehicles will be affordable EVs with an import price less than $35,000 a year, creating new low-cost options for Canadian consumers.
Trump needs Greenland for the Golden Dome. Greenland has GIUK, the GIUK gap, one of the most important naval choke points in the world. Its name is an acronym. Okay. Yeah, I wonder what the Golden Dome will happen, or when, if that will happen. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I didn't really sleep that good last night, but
he basically says
it's all good.
It's like China can come into Ontario and build Chinese EVs, exactly what Doug Ford wanted. Now, as for tariffs, the reason Scott Moe's there, canola seed is dropping down to a tariff rate of 15%, down from 85%. Canola meal, lobster, crabs, and peas will not be subject to relevant anti-discrimination tariffs, as in dropping to zero. And it says Canada expects that. He even says that in his press conference. They expect this to be signed. This is not signed. He's trusting that this will just go through with Xi Jinping, which is ridiculous to come out with a press conference and state this when this is not inked. And what's missing from this? Well, we have canola seed, canola meal, canola oil still has 100% tariff. There's no reduction whatsoever. That's basically it. He says China will be investing in Canadian energy, clean energy, but essentially that's the deal. It's not all that great for Canada, and really this just seems to be opening the door for China to dump more money into our country and get their tentacles in our society more, which they should not be. We should just be selling them stuff. They shouldn't be owning stuff in our country.
We're leveraging our strengths in energy, clean tech, and climate competitiveness. Canada is an energy superpower in both conventional and clean energies. We have an over 80% clean electricity grid with vast potential to power the clean.
I'm going to see CNBC. My uncle said someone on CNBC was criticizing this deal as bad for Canada. I don't see anything though here. CNBC. Probably be on a panel or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'd find that. The New World Order. Okay, I'm going to switch gears. I'll come back to the Canada-China stuff, but I want to cover a little bit of a different I'm sure the same topics will come up, but I also want to cover Doug Ford. I'll cover Doug Ford first, then I'm going to come to this. Do you Emraz, do you know who this guy Greg Wycliffe is? I just want to see kind of the position from him, because there's a group obviously in Canada that is kind of further right than Poilievre. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what they think. Although I think that group has kind of been losing power to the degree they even had some before. Probably not very much, but I think lately they've been losing even whatever power they had. Like, I don't think people are really listening to them right now that much. Yeah, he's like I don't know if he's like a People Party of Canada guy, but that's the way he seems like anyway. I'll play the Doug Ford thing first, then come back to this.
Consult with the automakers. This is going to be terrible for not only just all the people of Ontario, but especially the auto manufacturers, the supply chain. We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S.
Hello, Ammo. Canadian nationalists. Yeah, like those people I was explaining. The PPC type people. That's probably fair to say it like that.
Manufacturers, the supply chain. We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S., and I don't think that's going to go over too well with President Trump, but it's going to hurt every single auto manufacturer, every single supply chain that has anything to do with the auto sector. This was not thought out properly. It wasn't consulted. It was a knee-jerk reaction as far as I'm concerned, and this is going to be a big problem.
But the Prime Minister is simply reverting back to what was already in place in 2024. Why was it okay then, and why is it bad today?
Well, again,
look, Doug Ford to me is not a credible messenger. Every time he's just, to me, seems like a whiny liberal. Again, during COVID, he was a disaster. He had no bravery. He let the pro-lockdown crowd run him over for 2 years, even probably longer than that. Him dumping out the liquor on television. And then, dude, Doug Ford, you're going to make yourself like the poster child of having Trump derangement syndrome. Now you're going to criticize Carney for doing this? What do you think people are supposed to do, Doug Ford? This guy just sounds like critical of everything. I was actually kind of thinking Doug Ford would be on board with this China deal.
Is it okay?
I don't get how this guy continues to be premier. Yeah, Second Sons and Dominion Group. I did a video on the Dominion, a Dominion Society, maybe it's called, but I did a video on them. What do you think about them, Ammo? Wycliffe is okay, cool. Wycliffe is a PPC Maxime Bernier party guy. Okay, cool.
And why is it bad today?
Well, again, this is a Chinese government that doesn't respect labor laws, that doesn't respect making cars environmentally friendly, with they basically making it with coal. They're heavily subsidized, totally against all the auto workers here.
Okay, but what was all the Doug Ford? What was all your stupid Doug Ford pours out liquor? Is this Doug Ford's thing? Just be negative towards everything at all times? Which I get it. Like, I do understand you want to criticize what Carney did. That's fine. But I do not consider Doug Ford credible is the problem.
So, you know something? I found a bottle, and I don't even drink, of Crown Royal, right? I see that Crown Royal. I saw it at home. So this is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do. And I think everyone else should do the same thing. Start supporting companies that make whiskey here by Ontario people. That's what we need to do, is support each other. You know something? I'm going to make this even come out quicker because it's not coming out.
Cool, bro.
In Ontario and across the country, This is not a good situation.
Yeah, Rob Ford, though. Rob Ford was hilarious. No other conservatives are running for the position. Or the leader of the CPC or Ontario. Okay. Really? You'd think someone would want to be the leader of Ontario. He was well trained by the drama teacher.
For the auto sector as a whole.
So what is it going to mean, do you think, for the future of the auto sector in Canada? And you had mentioned earlier this week that it could jeopardize the talks with U.S. President Donald Trump. What effect do you think it'll have?
Well, first of all, anyone who buys these cars, they won't be allowed to go to the U.S.
What? Oh, because they're BYD.
Cybersecurity. I call it the spy car that they're bringing in. And
he's probably right there. That's actually a good point. I don't know that at the border they're going to let in a BYD car.
Cybersecurity. I call it the spy car that they're bringing in, and they won't be allowed to get over there. And it's going to tick off the Americans. 80% of our autos are going.
It's going to tick off the Americans. Are you joking? Now all of a sudden you care about this? This is the problem in Canada. All the elbows up crap, all the Buy Canada crap. The Americans are ticked off. We've been doing that. Doug Ford's been a massive part of that. What the heck did you think was going to happen with all your calling out America? Now all of a sudden he cares?
I can't for the life of me figure out why this guy's attacking his closest neighbors, allies, and friends. A tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. And I'm going to repeat that on NBC.
No other conservative is running for Ontario. Well, no effing wonder we always lose. Ontario stinks, man. Well, it doesn't stink, but I think Doug Ford does. Not too sure. They seem to be trying to get people to rally around the old cringe Canadian history stuff, trying to develop and reinforce an old school Canadian identity. Liberals, I'm not actually that I think we need to do that. We might not agree on that. I think Canada needs to refine its identity. What? No other conservative I reread that one. Liberals are morons and NDP can't find a decent person. If NDP had a decent person, I really think they would be voted in. Really? NDP? In Ontario? Or like nationally? I assume you mean in Ontario. Because yeah, NDP provincially can have some success. Obviously, nationally, they kind of suck lately, for sure. We need to remove Ford so we can put a real conservative in that place. Yeah, no, Tom, I actually, I think the CPC fails by not talking that much about Canadian identity and stuff like that. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but just Canadian culture, be pro-Canada. The CPC, I think, barely differentiates themselves from the Liberals in that case. Yeah.
CNN, Fox News, CNBC, I'm really hammering the airwaves to get that message to the Americans. They're going to get hurt. It's the wrong decision.
Cool, dude. And then wasn't Doug Ford behind the tariff commercial?
Doug Ford, he's the feisty Ontario premier who refuses to kiss the ring. So now President Trump is slapping an extra 10% tariff on imports from Canada.
That's dirty pool, and you can't do that. And let me just tell you, they shouldn't have done it. And they've apologized, and they said, we're going to take the ad down. Well, they did it, but they did it very late. They let it play for another 2 nights, and now they took that ad down. So I don't know when it's going to kick in. We'll see, but I don't really want to discuss it.
Well, in case you missed the Ontario
And so, yeah, Doug Ford, now Doug Ford today, oh, it's going to tick off the Americans. You ran an ad that was like, basically its explicit goal was to tick off Americans.
Be allowed to get over there, and it's going to tick off the Americans. 80% of our autos are going down there. I believe that speaking to the auto sector, speaking to the supply chain as well, they were coming up with a collaborative agreement, but now throw China in here for
Yeah, I think Ford should step down as well, like Legault.
what? They aren't going to manufacture here. So it's just a terrible, terrible, miscalculated decision by the Prime Minister.
Have you had a conversation with him since? And
No.
if you do get on the phone with him, what are you going to say?
I'm going to say the exact same thing. What I said right here. This wasn't thought out. No consultation at all. He always preaches partnership. This is anything but a partnership, and it's totally unacceptable that he's bringing in Chinese-made cars and that are totally subsidized. They're going to undermine every auto manufacturer here.
But canola, it was a trade-off for canola. You can see where
Number one, I don't believe in pegging one part of the country against another, one sector versus the other. We should be taking care of both. Good friends, closest ally, Scott Moe. I think it's great. That's fine. Along with our East Coast premiers on the lobster, but it's just really annihilated the auto sector. They start off with always saying 3%. Ask people in Brazil what happens to 3%, turns into 37%. Ask the people over in Europe when these Chinese subsidized spy cars are brought into their country, they're subsidized. And they undermine every single auto worker out there. I've had an opportunity, and I'll continue to talk to Atlanta Page.
Look, you want a hot take, though? I don't know if the average Canadian, I think things are so bad economically in Canada for maybe the bottom 80% of the country, meaning most people. I actually think a lot of Canadians would take being literally spied on if they can buy a vehicle for $5,000 less. That's maybe a very black pill doomer point of view, but I don't know. Do you agree with that in the chat? That is not a thing that I think would have been, that I would believe in maybe 10, 15 years ago, but especially younger Canadians, I think a lot of them actually wouldn't give a fuck. If they could get a new car for way cheaper than they can right now, I think they'd be like, I don't know, spy on me. I got nothing. My life sucks. What are you going to take from me? I go buy weed. I buy Pizza Hut. I watch Netflix. Spy on me. I don't give a shit. Like, I actually think that's unfortunately the reality for many Canadians. I don't think they would care. I'm laughing, but it's not that funny.
From Unifor, I'll be reaching out to all
because you think the cars, like, well, if China wants to become hostile with Canada,
auto manufacturers here in the
and promise to get rid of Chow. Yeah, is Chow still the mayor of Toronto? Chow is brutal. Ontario won't want to vote for the Liberal, and they won't vote for Ford. If they have a decent, capable NDP, they have a chance. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I'm going to go to this Greg Wycliffe now. This is a PPC guy, I think. Again, we've talked about that, but he's definitely like a person who criticizes Poilievre from the right.
People have commented on my videos as well, being like, why didn't you talk about the fact that Pierre didn't talk about this other thing?
This is a very valid criticism.
That's Greg.
I've had over the years, and I'm going to react to this video because Jasmine here kind of gets it totally wrong and shows her ignorance of how politics actually works.
My goal...
There's another guy, too, on X that I think looks like Greg. Chris. His name's Chris. Chris Erickson. I get them mixed up with one another. I think they have similar politics.
Here is the mission of having a conservative government, because I genuinely believe that we will all benefit as a result of it.
And that right there was the exact same mission statement that the pleb repeated over and over again as he kind of rose to stardom in the sort of conservative content space. And let's unpack that real.
Do you guys like the pleb? So I think Wycliffe, his criticism so far sounds like, why are these people just shilling for Poilievre, and that Poilievre should not be immune to criticism, I think.
quickly. You see, it's all about defeating the libs. It's all about getting the conservatives in. So it's all about this establishment party winning the election. What are our actual beliefs? What are our actual convictions? What is the actual long-term vision of the country? Well, it's just getting Pierre Poilievre in as the prime minister. In terms of what all those ideas are, it's just going to be a bunch of slogans like axe the tax, etc., etc. This is a problem. We've seen why it's a problem. The status quo, the liberal status quo of the media hasn't changed at all with Pierre Poilievre, and this is kind of, in my opinion, why this party stinks and does need to be criticized a lot more by conservatives in Canada.
My mission is not to tear that down, to create...
I actually agree with him, but somebody has to step up. Like, if you're criticizing Poilievre from the right, man, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. One thing I do think, though, is a lot of these guys who criticize Poilievre from the right are anonymous on X. And whatever, I think it's fine to be anonymous on the internet. There's no problem with that. But if you're going to try to get power politically, that's one problem I see in the PPC world. A lot of their big supporters online, one, they're anonymous, which I think is part of it. And then number two, they don't have YouTube channels. Like, you gotta, I think, make videos. That's just the way the world is right now. Maybe that'll change in 10 years, but I think podcasts and YouTube videos are a great way to convince people of your point of view. And I don't think the PPC bros do a great job of that at all. Like, who is the big PPC YouTuber? The only person I can think of is a guy named Viva Fry, but he lives in America, and I think he mostly talks about American politics, so I don't even think you can use him as an example.
Distrust or say things that will push people away from...
Hey, Emraz, what are you talking about? Maybe I missed what you said.
From the conservative movement. It's one of the biggest problems conservatives have.
I don't really understand where this framing is coming from, because the biggest problem conservatives have in Canada is not actually being conservative. This is what pushes people away. This is what makes them not want to trust them. This is what makes people not respect them, because they don't really stand on their convictions. They're very...
I agree with this, actually.
Kind of mealy-mouthed, and they always...
If Pierre's asked to elaborate his position, he does. His slogans are to inform his short... Was he criticizing the slogans? I think I was just off on my own little rant about my own crap, but yeah, I don't mind. The slogans I have no problem with. The slogans are fine. You need slogans. Look at Make America Great Again. It's obviously a very effective slogan. You need the slogan. And yeah, Poilievre does expand. I think my problem though with Poilievre would be, I do think Poilievre could go harder in the paint. Like the clip of him roasting that reporter about the apples, I think is peak Poilievre. That's where he's the best. Or when he says to Indigenous leaders, you don't get a veto, we're going to build the pipeline anyway. That's, I think, the energy Poilievre needs. And I think he can do that. I mean, I made the point yesterday. I think during the campaign, he just kind of got soft. I don't know what he was thinking. Clyde Do Nothing is another one. Clyde Do Nothing. So you don't like Clyde Do Nothing? Or would that be the implication there? The pleb is gay for pull my... I don't know what pull my lever is. Is that a joke or is that an account on YouTube? I don't mind Clyde Do Something, but I like him. I don't watch these people every day, but if you don't like them, I don't care. Like I like when people don't agree. But why don't you like the pleb if you don't, and Clyde if you want to share? Canada Strong. He's biased and isn't listening. Is that you're referring to this guy?
Pussyfoot around everything. And they do very little to actually disrupt the liberal status quo in Canada. Poilievre has hardly come out strongly against the transgender movement, for example. Poilievre has hardly pushed back against mass immigration, not nearly strongly enough at all. And he also once said this.
Ours is a nationalism not based on bloodlines, birthplace, or background. We are all Canadians and Canadians first.
Yeah.
I don't know if I disagree with that. Like, what's the... I don't know, man. If you disagree with that, you're kind of saying you want white nationalism, which I don't. I don't even believe in it. Like, I've thought even about it a little bit. The whole white nationalism thing. I'm kind of putting words in his mouth, but what's wrong with this statement?
Is a nationalism not based on bloodlines, birthplace, or background.
I mean, I guess he might have issue with the word bloodlines, birthplace. So you can't saying like you can just import everybody and then be like, hey, you're Canadian. I guess I wouldn't say it the way Pierre's saying it. I think it does make a difference if you've been in Canada and your family's been in Canada for multiple generations. I don't think you could just replace that overnight. Like if Canada just all of a sudden ballooned its population to 100 million with a bunch of first generation immigrants, I definitely think that would be bad.
Or background. We are all Canadians and Canadians first.
Yeah.
I don't know if we are though. I wish we'll get back to that, but yeah. Pull my lever is shorthand for Pierre Poilievre. I didn't know that. That's funny. Like I've never heard that before.
If everyone is Canadian, then no one is Canadian. Do I have to explain to people why this is not at all conservatism? This is the post-nationalism from Justin Trudeau that we hated, remember? But for some reason, this new conservative party with Poilievre and all these little, gatekeepers and supporters like Jasmine Lane here, for some reason, we don't question this post-nationalism. That's exactly the same as Justin Trudeau's.
Because it's all about accountability. And with that, we hold our own to account as well.
Do we? Because the whole point of this video you made is like, hey, we need to be like the right wing needs to be more united. And I would kind of make the counter argument. I feel like there's more unification around the liberals and the conservatives being united around post-nationalism and really not disrupting the liberal status quo in the media. To me, that's the big problem. And we should, as real conservatives, be holding the Conservative Party accountable for not actually disrupting that and kind of being in bed with the liberals when it comes to this post-nationalism. Again, when you have this framework of just trying to help an establishment party win the election, convictions don't really matter anymore, right? It's all about this weird strategy of trying to win. And hey, I'm not poo-pooing strategy, but I think that the strategy needs to be disrupting the liberal status quo that will actually change the culture, not just getting a new politician in.
Or maybe you'll be...
Man, I kind of agree. I don't know. I'll keep playing it.
Personally offended or angry or feel like you can't trust him as an individual leader of the party because an MP is covering something and it's not him directly saying it. That's how our parliamentary system works.
Yeah, but that's not how campaigning and marketing works. I know this video is getting long, but this part's really important. When you think of NDP, you think of Jagmeet Singh. You think of the leader. When you think of the Liberals, you either think of Justin Trudeau or you think of Mark Carney, the leader. What the leader of the party says is the most important thing to influence the conversation across the country. Here's a visual to help understand this concept because it's very, very important. Here's Mark Carney. Here's Pierre Poilievre. They are on a stage and they have microphones. What they say is heard by
I don't know the point he's trying to make right now, really. I don't really,
everybody's heard by the whole country. These are the only people who have access to this stage. For the blue team, Poilievre is the only guy who has access to this microphone to reach the entire auditorium, aka the entire country, and influence the mainstream conversation, okay? So although, Jasmine, there are other MPs who do say better stuff than Poilievre, they are not on the stage. They are not the leader of the party. What they say, what they do in a parliamentary hearing is not nearly as impactful because they don't have the big megaphone and microphone that Poilievre does by virtue of standing on the stage.
We don't vote for one person, and that is the only person who speaks for absolutely every single issue.
But we kind of do, though. The majority of people will just see what the leader of the party is saying in the mainstream conversation, and that's how they determine their vote. That's not even accurate.
We have hundreds of MPs.
I kind of agree with the guy there, but again, he's pulling these Jasmine Lane clips like potentially out of context. I don't know, it's very short. The one thing about Canadian politics that I've noticed, a lot of the message does come from the top, like Poilievre or Carney, whereas in America, you kind of get, I don't know about rogue elected officials like Congress people, senators that kind of have a different point of view, even publicly, than the leader. In Canada, it seems to, like, it definitely kind of seems like Poilievre or whoever the leader is the message, the person that disseminates the message. I don't hear that much from other MPs, really. So I don't know. I agree with half maybe of what this guy has said in this video.
And that's how they determine their vote. That's not even accurate.
We have hundreds of MPs for that very reason, right? Things get delegated. And that's one of the number one complaints I hear from people. Well, Pierre didn't talk about this. And I'm like, well, have you seen who did, though?
But did you see who did, though? This is another problem going on in this whole right-wing space in Canada. Back to my visual aid here. See, Jasmine Lane is right here. Other MPs, conservative MPs, they're right here. They are off the stage. They don't know.
I don't think this is a very good point, though, by this guy. I don't think it's that great of a point to keep bringing it up. He's basically saying the game is rigged. What a effing blank. Bernier is scarce for... Yeah, Bernier. What the heck does Bernier do? He just shows up for like 1 month.
Not have a microphone. And the problem is all these people are in an echo chamber talking amongst each other. Sure, maybe they're heckling the people on stage, but they don't have the biggest microphone. They are not reaching the mainstream conversation. And the big...
Okay, but to this guy, say what he's saying. I don't even really disagree with his point. He's kind of going on and on about it, but that's fine. Then there has to be a big voice that represents you online and not just on X. A lot of these Twitter accounts from these guys, like if you go here, there's this one account named Chris. Oh man, I got this guy here. 105K followers. That's pretty big. And I believe this guy would be like to the right of Poilievre, I think. But they need a leader on basically just on YouTube. Who would be the biggest PPC YouTuber that you can think of? I don't even know of anyone that has 1,000 subscribers. I guess this Greg guy does, but I don't know how much he posts. Let's see here. We go back to Greg, person who we were just covering in the video. If we go back to him, he's got 24K. But, I mean, I don't think this person's impactful online. Yeah, like, look, he never posts. His last video was 6 hours ago, but then 4 weeks ago, like, this is not going to convince people. I do not believe people are going to be, like, convinced and influenced from tweets. They might read the tweet and be like, oh, that's kind of a good point, then keep scrolling. The sort of pro-Poilievre movement online in Canada, at least I think, I guess you could say puts the work in. Because there are a whole bunch of YouTube channels that every single day put it on the line and are a little bit more pro-Poilievre. If this movement wants to grow in Canada, meaning the populist right, the PPC right, basically even just an anti-Poilievre right, I think someone has to come up with something engaging, because you're not going to win the argument of ideas with no content. You're just there's by definition, you've already lost the argument to people like Jasmine or Elevate Podcast or Wyatt Claypool or whoever is out there putting out content. You're just going to lose to them. I'm trying, yeah.
Hundreds of MPs for that very reason, right? Things get delegated. And that's one of the number one complaints I hear from people. Well, Pierre didn't talk about this. And I'm like, well, have you seen who did, though?
But did you see who? They do not have a microphone. And the problem is all these people are in an echo chamber talking amongst each other. Sure, maybe they're heckling the people on stage, but they don't have the biggest microphone. They are not reaching the mainstream conversation. And the big problem, the big delusion, the big trick is the people in this echo chamber are being told that what's happening in this echo chamber is actually disrupting the entire conversation, and it's being blasted across the country. It's not. It's not. You're in an echo chamber. You're just a heckler on the side of the stage. And yes, to an extent, that even includes the average MP, because again, they are not the leader of the party with the microphone.
And I just...
Yeah, but that sounds lazy, bro. Go make more content and convince people. Don't just sit here and complain about Poilievre. If you want to change the party, then advocate for that online, which I'm sure this person does. Like, they do. I mean, I've seen them on X and stuff, but just saying, oh, Poilievre's the leader, we cannot do anything about this because we don't like Poilievre, I don't think that's really good enough. Just whining about that.
Not the leader of the party with the microphone.
And I just find complaining about things like that to just be so counterproductive.
On the contrary, it's really not. Any time that the Conservative Party has received pressure from the outside, from someone complaining about them not being conservative enough, they end up moving. They end up changing. The PPC has been effective in dragging people to the right. The trucker convoy was effective in dragging the Conservative Party to the right.
Yeah, that's true, but...
There was a whole thing called the Reform Party that helped drag the Conservatives back to the right. In fact, this is the only thing that's been productive in making Conservatives in this country more actually right-wing.
I want to welcome...
Look, again, I'll make my point that then someone's going to have to step up, or a few people, and share these ideas with the world. This is the only person I know of who shares their ideas on this in a regular way is Viva, but he's largely pivoted to American politics. Like, how many of his videos, and I think this guy's pretty big on Rumble, but these videos are all on American stuff. So, yeah, you can complain and you can think your ideas are better, but if you never share them, other than in 280 character form on Twitter, how are people supposed to know what the ideas are and if they're even good or not? Here he talks about Canada a little bit, but again, aside from Viva, I don't even know who does this. So it's almost like the debate can't even happen if there's no anti-Poilievre conservative really putting it on the line. Where are people supposed to gravitate toward? Where do you think the power is going to concentrate? It's going to be in the pro-Poilievre wing of the party because there's no alternative.
Welcome people into the conservative movement because it makes sense. That's what my goal is here.
Jasmine, you could really change the conversation in this country if you dared to be critical of Pierre Poilievre. If you dared to...
Dude, why don't you do that? Just you make you have a YouTube channel. You already have a following somewhat. Why don't you do that?
To actually stand on your...
Maybe Jasmine, that's not her point of view. Maybe she just likes Poilievre. That's fine. People can like and think Poilievre is the true best option that Canada has.
Pierre Poilievre, if you dare to actually stand on your convictions as an individual or a person who believes in a different future for the nation of Canada and not just take the carbon copy talking points that's fed to you by the Conservative Party. You could be someone who actually helps drag this Conservative Party to the right. And I know you know it's the right thing. And I hope you're just not another one of these people who's going to carry water for the party to hopefully become an MP someday.
Yeah, but maybe she doesn't want to drag the party to the right. It's not on her, dude. I kind of agree with a lot of the stuff he said in the middle. I disagree at the beginning. I definitely disagree again at the end that why is that on Jasmine Lane to do that? And by the way, Jasmine Lane's not a politician. It's one thing if your point of view is you want to drag Poilievre to the right, but wanting to drag a conservative commentator to the right is kind of corny. Like, it's not on her to mirror your point of view. Pretty funny. Anyway, I'm going to finish the video there. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a great day. By the way, I'm not ending the stream. I think I'm going to try to kind of I probably won't well, maybe I will, but I don't, maybe not consciously do this, but I'm going to take a little chill for a second. I think I'm going to like kind of clip these up. So maybe I'll take the Doug Ford piece, put into a YouTube video. Maybe what I just kind of talked about for the last 15, 20 minutes with this guy and Jasmine Lane. I'll maybe just chunk that piece out of the live stream and upload it to YouTube. I think I'll probably do that because, yeah, if I just kind of talk about one subject on this live stream for a while, I might as well upload it to YouTube. It's not going to be maybe as clean as a normal YouTube video, but I can go in there and edit it, so I think it'll be fine. I think I'll start doing that. Who, Emraz, do you watch any big, like who's the biggest streamer that you watch? Do you watch like any big American ones or anything like that? You know how much conservatives are conservative critics? Listen to the other videos, Shit for Brains. There isn't even a PPC in the House of Commons. I know the PPC party struggles. That's for sure. That is for sure. Let's see what else we got here. Ontario. Yeah, yeah, this guy. But I mean, we covered that, but dude. Conservative MP holds nothing back, calling Carney deceptive. We'll check this out. I watch Starmer mess in UK sometimes, yeah. But here, have you heard of this person? Like, I'm not saying that I'm him, but he goes live. I think he goes live on Twitch though and Kick, but then he chops his videos up. So this is basically just him live, right? Talking, but this guy is like on another level. This guy crushes YouTube. Look at this. This video, 17 hours ago, already has 1 million views. Talking about Tim Walz. Have you, Emraz, do you ever check out my other channel? I don't expect you to do that, but this channel actually like has actually has views. I want to focus on some other stuff right now, but this channel, like when I post on it, at least, it's definitely way more worth my time to do this because I actually have an audience over here, but it's just a totally different subject. And I'll get back to it too. I got a bunch of more ideas for this. Might be like shadow ban. I don't think so. Yeah, like I'm not saying go watch it, but I'm just curious because it's fine. Like there's enough people that thankfully like the channel, but there was some other stuff I was gonna watch. Let's see. I think if I have some bookmarks on X. Oh, yeah, this is a funny.
Security landscape.
Gonna grab some water.
New Prime Minister, less than a year ago, you said that China was the biggest security threat to Canada. Do you still believe that?
The security landscape continues to change. And in a world that's more dangerous and divided, we face many threats. That's the reality. And the job, my responsibilities as Prime Minister, the job of the government, is to manage those threats. You manage those threats by building resilience, building security. You manage those threats through alliances. You manage those threats through engagement. And we're pursuing all of those. And I would say that, well, the threat environment has increased. The risks have multiplied. So too has our resilience and our engagement, which is protecting Canadians on balance.
But does that threat from China still exist?
Do you think?
I'll refer to my previous answer.
New Prime Minister.
Hi. It's nice to be back. Happy New Year. 2026 is already being marked by several crises that are rapidly destroying Canada's once strong immigration consensus. If Canada is to have any hope of continuing to be a welcoming country, it's incumbent upon the federal Liberal government to take swift, decisive action to address several problems, which are largely attributable to a decade of Liberal policy failures.
Everybody honest would admit that. I think even liberals deep down, like even the liberals that like Trudeau, I think would admit that, or they should. Like, that's been that was such a massive failure, and it continues to be today.
And so today, in my role as Shadow Minister for Immigration, ahead of the resumption of the House of Commons, I'm calling upon the Liberals to undertake a series of swift policy actions to address three looming crises to restore order, fairness, and compassion to Canada's immigration system. These actions build upon the comprehensive suite of policy proposals that Conservatives announced last fall. The first crisis. Millions of people in Canada are currently on expired or soon to expire temporary visas. The Liberals have no credible plan to remove them while simultaneously inviting hundreds of thousands more temporary residents into the country. Millions of people are now residing in Canada with temporary permits that have expired or will expire this year, and many are unwilling to leave.
Oh my gosh.
This incredible circumstance is a direct result of the Liberals issuing massive, unsustainable numbers of temporary resident permits.
Exactly. There was never a debate in Canada really about should we import millions and millions of people from India and other places. I don't remember that in any of the leadership debates. It was like affordability, or I remember the MAID, medical assistance in dying, was a debate topic. There was never a debate we're going to import 10 million people from India and other places. Is this good or bad? This was just like done by the Liberal government, and we're all suffering, including the immigrants.
In a very short period of time. Adding to the severity of this crisis are 500,000 undocumented persons in the country. Compounding this issue is last year's immigration levels plan, where the Liberals announced that they are going to issue hundreds of thousands more temporary permits in 2026. The Liberals predicated these levels on the assumption that millions of people with expired or expiring visas will leave. This isn't fair to anyone. Undocumented persons are forced to work on a black market for labor, while Canadians are facing an acute housing shortage, a healthcare system failure, and youth jobs crisis. If the Liberals bring in hundreds of thousands of more temporary residents without a credible plan to remove millions of people who no longer have a legal reason to be in the country, these problems will only worsen.
For sure.
That the Liberals are ignoring this reality through their policy choices is both uncompassionate and disturbing. Making the challenge of resolving this crisis worse, the Liberals did not implement an exit tracking system prior to inviting millions of temporary residents to the country, nor did they reform the asylum system to reduce the incentives for people with expiring visas to abuse the system in order to stay in Canada.
If your visa runs out, get the hell out of the country. That's so insane. If your visa runs out and you stay in Canada, you're a scumbag. Go back to where you came from.
This matter, our call to action is this. In order for Canada to rebuild its consensus...
It's so insane that that's even considered controversial. Imagine if you're a Canadian and you did that. You had a visa and you went to Bali and you're just like, well, no, I'm just going to live here now. Do you think the Balinese people are supposed to just be like, well, I guess it's compassionate to just let you live here? Give me a break. If you're on these temporary visas and you overstay, like, you're obviously a scumbag.
In order for Canada to rebuild its consensus for immigration, the law must be enforced. Temporary has to mean temporary. So Conservatives call upon the Liberal government to table a plan by the end of this month to tell Canadians how they plan to enforce existing Canadian law and get millions of people with expiring visas to leave Canada this year. Crisis number 2. Tens of thousands of new illegal border crossers are making asylum claims, while truly persecuted persons in Canada are being left in limbo. In December of 2025, Canada's pending asylum claims reached an unprecedented 300,000 cases, many from illegal border crossers entering Canada from the United States. This is up from less than 10,000 in 2015. To put that in perspective, under the Liberal government, Canada's asylum backlog now exceeds the population of a city like Windsor, Ontario.
What are all these asylum claims? What percentage of those asylum claims do you think are legitimate? Very low. The number is going to be very low. Oh, I need asylum. By the way, a lot of people that do these asylum claims go back and visit their country. Is that not the biggest crock of crap you've ever heard? Oh, I need asylum, but I'm going to go back and vacation there for a while, then come back. I'm going to flee. I'm going to keep fleeing the country and needing asylum again.
People who make a claim can now expect to remain in Canada for many years prior to their claim being examined and are eligible for generous social benefits while their claim is pending.
Oh my God.
This failure is the result of a decade of Liberal policies that have encouraged the abuse of our system, straining housing, healthcare, and the job market while eroding public support for controlled immigration. And this backlog is about to get a lot worse.
It's totally eroded public support for immigration. So many Canadians are finally so sick of this, like so much goodwill or whatever in immigration has been just totally lost because everybody sees it. You see it when you need to get a doctor's appointment, the backlogs. You see it in other ways, other areas of life as well. In a lot of major cities, it's like this group from this country hanging out with their people. Same with this other group here, this other group here. That is not good. That's not cute. That's fun for like a few days because you're like, oh, they're doing their own cultural thing. It's not fun when you actually have to live in a situation like that with all these just disparate groups interacting with one another. Where's the community in that?
Up to 350,000 Haitian nationals currently in the United States face termination of their temporary protected status effective February 3rd, 2026. Temporary protected status is an American program that temporarily prevents people without legal status in the United States from deportation during crises in their home country. Said differently, the United States has ordered that about 350,000 Haitian nationals without legal status must now return home. This matters to Canada because many will attempt to enter our country illegally in order to avoid removal. History shows that this is a pattern. When Haitians in the United States first faced temporary protected status revocation nearly a decade ago, Canada experienced a major increase in illegal crossings and asylum claims. Canadian government data confirms this trend. In recent months, despite the Safe Third Country Agreement, the formal arrangements where refugees can only make a claim in the first country they arrive in, thousands of Haitians have crossed illegally into Canada and filed asylum claims after having been found to have no legal reason to be in the United States. From 2017 to 2024, about 40,000 Haitians made such claims in Canada.
Oh my.
And in last year alone, nearly 12,000 did so. This number is likely to further surge after February 3rd, precisely at a time when Canada has extremely limited capacity or frankly social willingness to process and provide support to tens of thousands of new asylum claimants who have likely already had their claims rejected in the U.S. This wave of potential new...
Man, this is incredible. I wonder what the actual... If I go to ChatGPT, I'm going to ask what percentage of asylum claims are legitimate. Use, I'll say recent asylum claims. show USA and Canada data. What do you think this is going to be? I think it's going to be like, I mean, I don't know if ChatGPT is going to even accurately be able to determine this because this number probably is somewhat inherently unknown. Recent decision level data suggests less than 20 to 40% of adjudicated claims are approved. The Canadian asylum recognition rate, claims accepted on the merits, was about 82%. The acceptance rate has risen over the past decade. For example, is around, so we accept 80% protection being granted in the most recent complete data. So 80% roughly of asylum claims in Canada are accepted. How many asylum claims were there in Canada in 2025, 2024? Show data for last 10 years in a chart. Canada, asylum claims. Yeah, 2015, around 16,000. Doesn't have data for 16, 17. Look at this, 2019, 64. 2020, like 25 to 30. 2021, 25, again, pandemic. Then 92, 144, 147. 2025, data, 57K just for half the year, and then estimated 115. Like, that's obviously a very unnatural jump. The world, by the way, globally, from 2015 till 2025 didn't get worse, not globally. So there's no reason there needs to be all that extra asylum claim. It went up basically by over 10 times. And we accept 80% of these people. So basically you can just come to Canada and say you're seeking asylum, and then we'll accept you. That is totally bullshit. That is so sad. That is so brutal. No wonder there's so many reasons why the Canadian system is just falling apart and people die waiting for medical care. It's very difficult to get doctor's appointments all over the country. Everything is so backed up. It's so insane that we've allowed this to happen as a country. It's actually very pathetic. We're almost like a self-hating group of people at this point.
Arrivals raises humanitarian, security, and infrastructure concerns. Many are attempting to enter Canada during frigid winter weather. Without strong deterrence, there will be more dangerous winter crossings attempted, as well as human trafficking, as seen in recent RCMP arrests and the interception of a U-Haul with 44 suspected Haitian trafficking victims. The Liberal government has deemed the United...
There was one U-Haul with 44 Haitians in it?
44 suspected Haitian trafficking victims.
Trafficking victims.
And the interception of a U-Haul with 44 suspected Haitian trafficking victims.
Oh my gosh.
The Liberal government has deemed the United States a safe third country. That is, if someone reaches the United States, they are obligated to make an asylum claim there and are subsequently ineligible to file a claim in Canada. However, the Liberal government has failed to close a major loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement. An overly broad definition of family allows illegal crossers to claim asylum if they have relatives in Canada, and this includes spouses, common law partners, children of any age, parents, siblings, grandparents, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews.
Come on. That's, oh my God. They could do everything. Everybody then. You have a relative in Canada, you can do that?
Even if those family members only have pending asylum claims themselves. This enables chains of potentially bogus asylum claims amid prolonged processing.
I mean, this is such a racket. It just sounds like if you want to go to Canada and claim asylum, you just can do that. Your uncle can have a pending asylum claim if it's even your real uncle. And that's enough? What are we doing?
And rare removals. Furthermore, the Liberal government has shown reluctance to crack down on human traffickers who profit off of illegally transporting people across the border, or to adopt conservative proposals that would reform social benefits that may incentivize bogus asylum claimants. When combined and prolonged processing delays when combined with prolonged processing delays, these benefits serve as incentives to make bogus applications. The existing backlog, already enormous, will only grow larger, further straining Canada's welfare resources, housing and healthcare systems that should prioritize Canadians and genuine refugees. This is not compassionate or fair to anyone. I realize that this is a difficult topic, but it is an urgent matter that the government must address.
It is, and it really actually shouldn't even be a difficult topic. Everybody across the political spectrum should be outraged by this, and it shouldn't be a controversial topic. And if you think it's a controversial topic, you are just a total, like, I'm going to hold back because I just think you generally suck as a person if you think this is controversial to talk about or racist or like anything like that. I know there are people out there obviously like that, and they suck.
For example, the Liberals have broken promises to persecuted groups who are already in Canada, such as those from Ukraine, Hong Kong, and Sudan, leaving them in limbo while prioritizing resources for illegal crossers who may have questionable claims. This is wrong. Canada has a finite capacity to provide support, shelter, and protection to vulnerable persons.
You like this, Mark Pilon? You like all this crazy asylum stuff? Is that what you're saying? You're pro letting the world come into Canada? Or are you saying that, or do I misunderstand your point?
The Liberals should be prioritizing truly protected persons as opposed to making space for bogus asylum claimants. So our call to action on this issue is as follows. Conservatives will use the upcoming parliamentary session to restore order and fairness to Canada's broken asylum system by continuing to champion the suite of asylum system reforms we introduced as amendments to Bill C-12. And if illegal border crossers numbers continues to surge, call on the Liberals to examine the potential preemptive use of Section 20.1 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act to uphold the spirit of the Safe Third Country Agreement and designate certain nationals crossing illegally from the U.S.
No, not you. Not you, Emrat. This Mark, I don't know if it showed up on the Mark Pilon, whoever that is. I don't know if it showed up on your thing. You might have to go to live chat instead of top chat.
As an irregular group arrival, triggering measures that would deter mass winter crossings and human trafficking and potentially save lives. Push for the Liberals to rigorously enforce Sections 117 through 121 of the Immigration Refugee Protection Act, which impose severe penalties on traffickers, including fines, imprisonment, and deportation bans. Calling on the Liberals to seek urgent cooperation with the United States to close the family loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement by narrowing the definition to match Canada's definition, which is standard for family class, which is spouses, common law or conjugal partners, dependent children, generally under the age of 22, parents and grandparents. We will also call for...
Look, even that's probably too broad, but that's more reasonable than your uncle. Like, that's clown world. Your aunt, your niece, that's insane. Your grandparent, parent, I think that might even be too generous still.
Importantly, to honor commitments to persecuted groups already in Canada by pausing the acceptance of new government-assisted refugees and reallocating those spots to eligible individuals already in Canada from Ukraine, Hong Kong, and Sudan. And the last crisis. Non-citizens convicted of serious crimes are being given lenient sentences in order to allow them to avoid deportation. Almost every week, another high-profile incident comes to light of a non-citizen convicted of serious crimes getting a lenient sentence and avoiding deportation. In the last 2 months...
Man, that is so incredible. Why does Canada have to be pretty much one of the only countries on earth that would do that? It's so stupid. You would never get away with that in the majority of countries. They would totally laugh in your face if you even suggested such a thing. Can you make my sentence less after I committed a crime because I don't want to get deported and I'm also not a real citizen? What like, it sounds too stupid when you say it. I think if you put that into a movie, people would say this is not believable. No country is this stupid.
We've seen stories about a truck driver who recklessly killed a 23-year-old Caledon woman who got 55 days in jail. A man convicted of child porn possession or child sexual abuse material who knew it was a crime when he watched it was given leniency as the judge gave him 6 months less a day, which the judge explicitly said was to avoid immigration consequences.
Oh my gosh, man. Get that guy the hell out of the country right now.
A man who pleaded guilty to abducting a 9-year-old boy he didn't know awaits sentencing after asking for 6 months less a day to avoid immigration consequences. This situation is perpetuating a two-tier justice system in Canada wherein non-citizens are treated differently than Canadian citizens.
That's the Canadian way. The non-citizens get special treatment. Non-citizens, and if you're an Indigenous leader, you get treated better somehow than a Canadian that grew up here. It's pathetic.
This is causing the rapid erosion of Canada's consensus on immigration, as well as it is unfair to Canadian victims of crime. Therefore, we call upon the Liberals to rapidly pass Bill C-20, my bill to end the practice of giving non-citizens convicted of serious crimes leniency in sentencing in order to help them avoid deportation. In the upcoming session, Conservatives will continue to pressure the Liberals to pass common sense policies we proposed last fall, as well as to take the action that we've outlined today. Thank you.
The Federal Court of Appeal ruled today that
was good. She was spitting facts there. I hope that message, hope that video at least takes off and more people are aware of how insane our sane asylum claims are in Canada.
the Liberal government did not have reasonable grounds 4 years ago to quell the protests. I'm just wondering if I can get your reaction to that, please.
Well, you know, it gives me an opportunity to...
Yeah, I think I'll put that into a video. I'll check out the Trump stuff. So he responded to this. I was just gonna probably turn that into a YouTube video. But I'll check the Trump stuff out right now. Did he respond on like truth or? Yeah, I see it. I'm trying to. I think I see the. There's one on CTV.
Let's now bring in CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham on this story as Canada and China sign a new trade agreement. Reactions, of course, coming here in Canada. But Eric, let's ask you about the reaction so far, if any, we've heard with this deal in Washington.
Well, look, the president's own Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and even one of his economic advisors, his closest economic advisors, Peter Navarro, they both recognized that Canada becoming more close to China is certainly going to have an impact on U.S.-Canada relations. However, President Donald Trump doesn't seem to either understand that or simply doesn't get it. And I think we have heard that over and over. In fact, just recently at a plant in Dearborn, Michigan, the president said that the United States doesn't need anything from Canada. And he said that CUSMA was irrelevant. And I think and as a result of that, we're seeing the prime minister engage in a number of trade deals and negotiations. Today, it's China. Tomorrow, it will be Qatar. And so clearly what we're seeing now is the Canada is doing all it can under Mark Carney to lessen.
No, you're right, Emraz. There was a No, I think I got the, oh man. Gotta try to cover up some stuff here.
Mr. President, Prime Minister Carney is in China. Prime Minister Carney is in China. How do you see the deals Canada and China have just signed, trade deals between the two partners?
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
So, interesting. That actually would be what I thought Trump would say, but you never know. He's obviously pretty unpredictable. You said Northern Perspective. What did they talk about? I'm getting pretty tired. I'll probably shut it down after this. Federal court upholds ruling Emergency Act was unlawful. Or did they talk about Twitter? Yeah, I'm going to end the stream. I'm getting tired. Okay, thank you for watching. See you guys later. See you guys and gals later. Have a great day. See you in the next video or stream.